for the meeting last week. It was helpful to see our financial picture. When you asked what I'm doing to take care of myself, I didn't have much of an answer. It hasn't been easy to find the time since Michael's been gone. But the question was a good one. So today, I'm starting something for me.
Just one free hearing test at his local Miracle Ear helped Andrew hear more of the joy in her voice. Just one hearing test is all it took for him to hear more of her laugh and less of the background noise around him. For Helen, just one visit to her local Miracle Ear is all it took to learn how she can share more moments with her daughter. Just one free hearing test could help you hear more laughter, music, life. Call now for your free hearing test from an industry leader. Miracle Ear.
Alexa, tell ADT to set goodnight clock.
Turn down service. Brought to you by ADT. A smart home with 24/7 protection. Designed and installed just for you.
Managing my type 2 diabetes wasn't my top priority until I held her. I found my Tresiba reason. Now I'm doing more to lower my A1C. I take Tresiba once a day. Tresiba controls blood sugar for 24 hours for powerful A1C reduction.
We'd been counting down to his retirement. It was our Tresiba reason. He needs insulin to control his high blood sugar, and at his age, he's at greater risk for low blood sugar. Tresiba releases slow and steady and works all day and night, like the body's insulin.
Tresiba is a long-acting insulin used to control high blood sugar in adults with diabetes. Don't use Tresiba to treat diabetic ketoacidosis, during episodes of low blood sugar, or if you are allergic to any of its ingredients. Don't share needles or insulin pens. Don't reuse needles. The most common side effect is low blood sugar, which may cause dizziness, sweating, confusion, and headache. Check your blood sugar. Low blood sugar can be serious and may be life-threatening. Injection site reactions may occur. Tell your prescriber about all medicines you take and all your medical conditions. Taking TZDs with insulins like Tresiba may cause serious side effects like heart failure. Your insulin dose shouldn't be changed without asking your prescriber.
I have great respect for what he's done in terms of what he's gone through. You know, he worked for Ronald Reagan for years. He worked for Bob Dole. He worked, I guess his firm worked for McCain. He worked for many, many people, many, many years. And I would say what he did, some of the charges they threw against him, every consultant, every lobbyist in Washington probably does.
Wow. Welcome back to Harvard. That was President Trump dodging a question on whether he would pardon his former campaign chair, Paul Manafort, who was found guilty this week of 8 counts of bank and tax fraud charges. The president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, told the Washington Post that Trump discussed the possibility of pardoning Manafort with his lawyers several weeks ago, and that they counseled the president against the idea of pardoning anyone linked to the investigation into Russia's interference in the 2016 election, according to Giuliani, saying Trump should at least wait until special counsel Robert Mueller has concluded his probe. Well, Giuliani added the president agreed and did not push the issue further. From where I'm joined by Eli Stokols, a White House reporter for the LA Times. Thank you, Eli, in this. And let's get into the... First of all, let's talk about the fact that what we know about the Manafort jury. That this woman was wonderful. I heard her on Fox last night, Paula Duncan. She's very smart about how she played it out. She seemed like the kind of reasonable jury you'd like to have on any jury to get the truth. And then she pointed out, one of those juries, let's read this, spoke out last night. Let's watch her.
How close, I want to know, did this jury come to convicting Paul Manafort on all 18 counts?
By one. There was one holdout.
So you all agreed on the 8 counts. The 10 others, there was one person who kept you from making that next step.
That's correct, yes.
What was their reasoning, if they shared with you?
Reasonable doubt.
Let me ask you about that. I guess reasonable doubt could be a mindset, a person just not comfortable making a big decision like this on someone's life. But what does this tell us about the prosecution? It seems to me it tells us that they're going to go ahead with the prosecution of all these other counts in D.C., with probably a tougher jury, facing someone like a big shot like Manafort, and they're going to probably have a better shot there. To even get all 18 or 25, whatever they're pushing this time.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate on what it was for that one juror that held them up, but if you listen to the whole interview and what she said, a couple things stood out. One, her honesty about saying, hey, I'm a Republican, I got to make America great hat in my car.
That woman talking there.
And that's what she said. And she said, I wanted Manafort. She's aware of the context. She knows who these people are. And she came in saying she wanted him to be innocent, but the evidence was overwhelming. And if the evidence was enough for 11 out of 12 people to want to convict on all 18 counts, it tells you something about the evidence. It also struck me what she said about Rick Gates' testimony and how most people on the jury as a whole, didn't find him to be very credible. That is instructive for the government in terms of what they get out of putting Gates on the stand, and the idea that as the president has told people over and over again that people who flip are just, in his words, making stuff up. Whether or not they're making things up about him or not, the idea that they're working with the government, to at least some people on this jury, made Gates seem...
Well, now he's facing another trial, Manafort, in D.C., probably a more liberal, more difficult jury for a Republican like him, a big shot, a lobbyist, not a great word. What does that say about a possible pardon? I mean, it looks like this guy's going to be facing a lot of time coming out of the next trial.
Well, he's 69 right now, so forget the next trial. The trial that just concluded, if he gets the minimum range, he's looking at 10 years. So chances are this guy is going to do a lot of time. And I think, talking to our reporters who've been covering the trial, talking with the Manafort attorneys, the sense is that his only real hope at this point is a pardon. And it's striking that the president, who's seeing the sort of walls closing in, still continues to express his personal feeling that Manafort is a victim here, that Manafort is being unfairly targeted. And after doing so for a couple of days, you see Rudy Giuliani go out and acknowledge the fact that they've talked about it. Now, obviously, it would be foolish for the president. I'm not going to predict he won't do it, but it seems like, of course, he would get advice to wait until after the election.
The fact
and
that
after
you're into something
investigation.
There. The fact that his lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, is suggesting they've been thinking about it.
But he goes out and says, yesterday at the White House, Sarah Sanders was asked about this, and she said, I'm aware of no conversations that have taken place
This is a ray of hope.
about a pardon.
If you're Manafort, this is a ray of hope when you hear Rudy Giuliani says, the president's already talking about it.
And it looks like a smoke signal that they're sending to him, and that is something that investigators will also look at, because right in an obstruction case, is the president and his attorney, are they intentionally sending a message to people to not cooperate as the investigation?
Let's go to the other side. If you're the prosecutor here, and you're Robert Mueller, and you're going to the judge and say, give this guy serious time, hard time, maximum security or minimum security, medium security, and this guy could be going to a really hellish place, Leavenworth or somewhere, for 10 or 15 years. It's not like Allenwood where you play tennis and lift weights and talk to the white-collar criminals and have fun with them. You're going to a serious prison. Can they put that kind of pressure on this guy Manafort at this point?
They can, but I think the more they lean into that, the more it does play into the president's characterization of this as they're out to get him. Yeah. They're being too harsh on him. For more, some people who get caught on this, maybe it's a tax audit. Manafort is getting strung up because he worked for me. And that is the thing that I think, generally the investigators, the prosecutors, they've kept their heads down. They've tried to not be influenced by the media circus and Trump tweets and things like that, but they have to be cognizant of the implications of this and the sense that the public and that a jury may have that they are out to get this guy.
Let's see what his match factor is, how much Trump actually cares about another human being who's been loyal to him. The
pardon seems to be more out of self-interest than real concern for Paul Manafort.
This guy, but he talks like he cares about the guy. Thank you, Eli Stokos. Up next, there are truths, half-truths, little white lies, of course, and flat-out lies. Well, based on Michael Cohen's plea deal, Trump's statement that he knew nothing about payments to Stormy Daniels seems to fall into that last category, the bad one. You want your hardball?
We have got a problem. A few problems, actually.
We've got aging roadways,
aging power grids,
aging everything. We also have the age-old problem of bias in the workplace.
Really? Never heard of it.
The question is, who's going to fix all of this? An actor? Probably. Do you know who can solve it? Business. Because solving big problems is what business does best. So let's take on the wage gap, the opportunity gap, the achievement gap, whatever the problem. Business can help. And I know who can help them with that.
After World War II, Hitler's deadliest lieutenant escaped. 15 years later, he was found.
We'll get him back here alive.
Discover the incredible true story of Operation Finale.
For the sake of the world, do not fail.
Operation Finale, rated PG-13.
Applebee's to go. Order online and get $5 off $25. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
The first survivor of Alzheimer's disease is out there, and the Alzheimer's Association is going to make it happen. But we won't get there without you. Join the fight with the Alzheimer's Association.
Death really is this frequent. An identity is stolen every 2 seconds. See if your social security number has been compromised with a free dark web triple scan at Experian.com/scan.
When you start sleeping on a Tempur-Pedic, the difference you feel is night and day. You fall asleep cooler, stay asleep longer, and wake up feeling better than ever. That's the Tempur-Pedic difference. Experience the most highly recommended bed in America. During our Labor Day sales event, purchase a Tempur-Luxe, Elite, or Breeze mattress and enjoy up to $550 off. Or get a free adjustable base upgrade. Find your exclusive retailer.
United Health Group.
Welcome back to Hardball. President Trump's story about what he knew about payments to Stormy Daniels has changed a lot of times. Let's watch the changes.
Did you know about the $130,000 payments? Then why did Michael Cohen make this if there was no truth or allegation?
You have to ask Michael. Michael's my attorney, and you'll have to ask Michael.
Do you know where he got the money to make that payment?
No, I don't know.
Michael would represent me and represent me on some things. He represents me like with this crazy Stormy Daniels deal.
Did you know about the payments?
Later on I knew. Later on. But you have to understand, Ainsley, what he did, and they weren't taken out of campaign finance. That's a big thing. That's a much bigger thing. Did they come out of the campaign? They didn't come out of the campaign. They came from me.
Well, the Washington Post fact checker, which notes that in the past that they've been hesitant to call Trump's misleading statements lies, concludes that it's now clear that the president's statement on Stormy Daniels was a lie. Let's bring in tonight's Hardball Roundtable. Kathy Kay, Washington anchor for BBC News. John Brabender's a Republican strategist. And Jason Johnson is politics editor for TheRoot.com. In that order, Kathy, first, what do we make of Trump's stories from, he handled the Stormy Daniels thing for me. Well, I didn't even hear about that till later. It's kind of messy.
So the reason the Washington Post has changed its wording on this is because they're saying now the president knowingly told these mistruths and therefore it constitutes a lie. Now, critics of the president would say that the press has been far too cautious about this all along, and the people who have done business with Donald Trump in New York over the course of the past few decades will always consistently say that when it comes to negotiations, one of the traits of Donald Trump is that he lies. And critics have called out the press on this and saying this is semantics, and the press actually should have used that word much earlier.
Well, we've had presidents before who have not told all the truth. John Braybender, FDR wasn't exactly forward.
Are you telling me this isn't
on England in World War II before the war?
Are you telling me this isn't the first time that an elected official in Washington didn't entirely tell the truth?
I'm only helping.
But look, there's two arguments there, and you know there's two arguments here. Everybody's going down the path. Did the president lie or not? Well, he might have. It wasn't illegal. There wasn't anything that is something that's going to go to court. There's nothing that affects the Mueller, investigation. This might just be a guy who didn't want his wife to know what he was up to. And so that's our argument. Okay, great. What's that got to do with all the other stuff going on in the world, like creating jobs and nuclear?
His lawyer says that he did it to avoid campaign problems right near the election because he just had access to Hollywood, and this would have tipped the election into impossibility.
Do you believe that, though? How many stories? There was already so many stories like this that didn't tip the election. So why would this one have? I mean, I just think that...
Because I think they thought they had this much chance to win the election going into it right at the end. People like the smart people in the campaign, including Trump. They had
My point is, the average person sees this as...
What Ramaphosa is attempting to do is redistribute land, which was denied to black people in that country for almost the last century. This is not an uncommon practice when you have had sort of institutional racism and the denial, almost essentially an apartheid state for 100 years. So, but it does strike me that this is the kind of thing that Donald Trump talks about. This is the kind of land and resources he's concerned about. Not Jeff Sessions using civil forfeiture, asset forfeiture to take land from Americans, to take resources from Americans. He's concerned about black folks and white folks in South Africa. It tells a lot about what this president actually cares about.
What do you think he cares for, Sean?
Well, first of all, I don't know why he's entering into this battle, despite it's so
called.
Well, no, I know contextually, people who don't like him are going to come up with one reason. People who do like him are going to come up with something else. It's so far off message. It's not relevant to his base, his enemies, or anybody else that it makes no sense
Except
to
that
be
maybe
talking
he
about
feels
this.
it is relevant to his base.